Hey guys, sorry I've been away for so long. As you can probably tell by my voice, I've been sick. Today's video is going to be a DIY that you can do with any extra shirts you might have laying around that either don't fit quite right or just aren't very exciting, just plain t-shirts that you might have gotten at some sort of event that were for free and you don't know when you'll ever use one. Well, here's a way you can make it a little bit more fashionable. You can also use this for like cosplay, you can use it for Halloween. So I have this tie-dye pastel t-shirt I got at school because they were doing like a free tie-dye thing. So I of course made one, and it's way too big because they didn't have my size. This is a men's medium. I'm sort of between small and medium, so mediums are always a little too big. Basically, I'm just going to show you guys how to turn it into like a fringy tank top. So all you need is a pair of scissors and a t-shirt that doesn't really fit. You can either leave the neckline or cut it off. I'm going to cut it off because I don't really like how men's t-shirt necklines are. I tend to like things v-neck or a little bit lower. I find men's t-shirts come up a little too high and it feels a little strangly. It's not my favorite thing. So just taking your scissors, if you're going to cut off the neckline, do it one little bit at a time. Just cut through the collar. You can always cut down lower after, but I like to try and stay along the collar at first, just so I don't accidentally cut too much. So you've now separated the collar. I like to separate it so that like I can cut right below that little line of thread. And so you just cut off the collar all the way around the shirt. Like I said, if you like the collar, you can skip this step and just skip ahead in the video to where I start to cut off the sleeves. While I'm cutting, I like to pull it a little bit tight between my two fingers just because the collar part up here is stretchy, and sometimes you cut unevenly if you don't stretch it, because sometimes you think you're cutting in a straight line, but you're really not. I also like to do this because it removes the tag as you're cutting, so you don't have to remove the tag later. Because if you're like me, tags are not your friend. So now, the collar of our shirt has been cut off. At this point, you can either make this part into like a v-neck, you can make it more scoop-like. I'm just going to leave it like this for now until I can try it on and see if I want to cut it down a little lower. So next, you're cutting off the sleeves. I recommend not trying to cut the sleeve off all in one piece, and also when you're doing it, turning your shirt sleeve inside out. By turning it inside out, you can see where the seam is, and then cut right above it on the actual shirt rather than the sleeve. Again, I don't suggest trying to cut it all as one piece because if you mess it up and it's uneven, then you're going to have an uneven hole. So just cut down the sleeve through the seam. And I cut in a little bit too far, so I'm going to have to make it a deeper tank top sleeve than I usually do. This is the worst part, is cutting through this thicker part. So from here, I just try and cut a straight line. If you cut closer to the seam, then you can just follow along the seam. Because I messed up, I don't get to do that, and makes it a little bit harder. I'm just going to start going in the other direction and try and meet up in the middle to keep it even. So I cut off one of the sleeves. So now I'm going to fold it over to determine where I need to make the cut for my other sleeve. And so by folding it in half, you can see that I have to cut off right here rather than like right down here. I have to cut up here if I want both sides to be the same at least. So I just make a little snip in both layers of fabric and then repeat turning it inside out and cutting the other side. Okay, so now that both sleeves have been cut off, you have a tank top. So if you're like me, it's probably still too long. And because it's still too long, you're going to want to at least remove this little bottom hem so it can roll up a little. Also, if this is how you want to keep your t-shirt, then there you go, you have a tank top. You can also continue on in this DIY until we get to the fringe part. So in order to cut the hem, I'm just, again, cutting through and cutting off. This part, it doesn't matter too much if it's a straight line because your hem will roll if you're leaving it like this, and if you're going to fringe it, it really doesn't matter because different length fringe is okay. Now that you've cut your hem off, it's time to try it on and just kind of see where it falls. So for me, it falls at the top of my thighs, and it's a little tight, so this fringe is going to help to add a little bit of extra room. Personally, I would suggest making sure that where you have your armpits, you leave about 1 inch of space with no fringe. So I think I'm just gonna like trim it a little more and then start the fringe. I'm probably gonna cut off about 2 inches of the length on the bottom and then I'll start fringing it. Okay, so I'm just gonna start cutting off a little bit of the extra. So in order to do that, I'm just going to cut up about 2 inches and do the same thing that I did when I was cutting off the hem. So now that you've cut your tank top to your desired length, it's time to start the process of fringing it. So when you're doing this, again, pay attention to how much space you need for the armpits. You don't want to end up fringing it up too high and then not having a side of your shirt left, which can happen. So, in order to cut fringe, depending on how thick you want your fringe, you're just going to start slicing it up. Again, keeping in mind where the armpit is if you want your fringe to be even all around. To me, this is a decent amount of space for fringe. And I want my fringe fairly thin, so I'm just going to be cutting little, like, half-centimeter strips. And repeating this all the way around the shirt. If you don't want all your fringe to be the same length, then you can start some of it up a little higher than others. And another thing that you're going to do as you make your fringe is just pull the little strings so that they turn into little tubes. Which creates the more typical fringe shape. So I'm just gonna do this to my entire shirt all the way around, and I will be back when that's done. So once you've finished cutting all the way around your shirt, you should have a lot of fringe. Now, if you're lazy, or you just don't really care, you can just leave it like this and finish it. However, you can also, to prevent it from... So I'm not sure what's going on, but someone seems to have a power drill somewhere. But anyways, if you don't really want it to fray too much, you can tie a little knot just in the top of the string. It's not hard to do. You just loop it around your finger, stick the end through, pull it up, and you have a knot. So you can just go around your whole shirt doing that. You can also add knots in the bottom if you want the bottom of your fringe to be tied. And so, if you're going to do that, just go around the whole shirt until you finish. So, basically that's it for this DIY, because if I do that, that is going to take quite a while. And, yeah, I don't think you want to watch me spend another 45 minutes doing that, and overall this project takes probably about 2 hours, maybe less if you have a smaller shirt. So, I hope you enjoyed it, and, yeah. This is the final product. Like this video for more like this. If you want more DIYs, give me some ideas down in the comments. I have a few planned already. I'm just waiting for the supplies to come in the mail. And when they do, then I will be doing those. So, see you guys later.